They built empires on fear, controlled cities with violence, names whispered in back rooms from New York to Chicago to Las Vegas. For a century, we've been fascinated by the Mafia, The Godfather, The Sopranos, Goodfellas. We know their crimes, we know their deaths, but we never knew their blood. Until now. Welcome to Famous Roots, where we conduct DNA audits on history's most powerful criminals. Today, we're opening the genetic files on 7 legendary mob bosses whose bloodlines reveal the real story of organized crime in America, from Sicilian villages to American streets. And I promise you, the final case will shatter everything you thought you knew about the most famous gangster in American history. If you're fascinated by the hidden bloodlines behind America's most infamous figures, subscribe to Famous Roots right now. We publish DNA investigations every week. Hit that bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Charles Lucky Luciano, the man who modernized the Mafia, the boss who ended the old Mustache Pete era and created the Commission, Organized Crimes Ruling Council. But our DNA audit reveals Luciano wasn't born into power. He was born Salvatore Lucania in 1897 in Lercara, Friuli, Sicily, a sulfur mining village so poor, children worked underground by age 8. His genetic mapping shows pure Sicilian peasant stock, generations of sulfur miners who breathed toxic fumes and died young. His father, Antonio, worked the mines until he scraped together enough money to escape to America in 1906. 9-year-old Salvatore arrived at Ellis Island with nothing. Within 20 years, he controlled organized crime in New York. Lucky Luciano's DNA didn't carry aristocracy. It carried desperation, the genetic memory of suffocating in Sicilian mines, and the determination to never go back underground. Carlo Gambino, the boss of bosses who ruled New York's underworld for 20 years without ever raising his voice. The ghost who died of old age in his bed, something almost no mob boss ever achieved. Gambino was born in 1902 in Caccamo, a small town in Palermo Province, Sicily. Our genealogical research reveals his family were shepherds and small farmers. Hard-working, traditional Sicilians with no criminal history. His DNA tells the story of Sicily itself, isolated, insular, loyal to blood above law. Gambino arrived in America illegally in 1921, stowing away on a ship. He never forgot the old Sicilian code: silence, patience, family. When flashier bosses like John Gotti grabbed headlines, Gambino stayed invisible. That wasn't strategy. That was DNA. Centuries of Sicilian survival instinct, coded into his genes. Never attract attention. Never trust outsiders. Always protect the family. And now, the boss who broke every rule, Meyer Lansky, the only Jewish mobster to reach the highest levels of the Italian Mafia. The man they called the mob's accountant. Lansky wasn't Sicilian. He wasn't even Italian. Born Meyer Lansky in 1902 in Grodno, then part of the Russian Empire, now Belarus. He came from Ashkenazi Jewish roots in a world of brutal pogroms. Our DNA audit reveals Lansky's genetic heritage traces to centuries of Jewish communities in Poland, Belarus, and Lithuania. His family fled Russian violence, arriving in New York's Lower East Side in 1911. Here's what makes Lansky's genetics culturally revolutionary. He became partners with Lucky Luciano, breaking the ethnic barrier that defined organized crime. 2 immigrants, one Sicilian, one Jewish, both fleeing poverty, both willing to rewrite the rules. Lansky's DNA didn't carry the Sicilian code of silence. It carried centuries of Jewish intellectual tradition, literacy, mathematics, financial acumen. While Italian bosses used muscle, Lansky used his mind. And he died a free man, never spending a day in prison. Frank Costello, the Prime Minister of the Underworld. The mobster who owned judges, senators, and mayors. The man who proved the Mafia's real power wasn't violence, it was influence. Born Francesco Castiglia in 1891 in Cassano allo Ionio, Calabria, Costello came from southern Italian stock, not Sicilian, a crucial distinction in Mafia culture. Our DNA mapping reveals Calabrian heritage, a region known for the 'Ndrangheta, a criminal organization distinct from the Sicilian Mafia. His family immigrated to New York when Francesco was 4 years old, settling in East Harlem. Costello's genetics carried something different than Sicilian bosses: Calabrian adaptability. While Sicilians stayed insular, Calabrians learned to negotiate with outsiders. Costello worked with Jewish mobsters, Irish politicians, and WASP businessmen. His DNA didn't demand respect through fear. It earned respect through deals. And that's why he lived to 72, longer than almost any mob boss in history. Sam Giancana, the Chicago outfit boss who allegedly rigged elections, shared a mistress with JFK and died with a bullet in the back of his head, just before he was set to testify to Congress. Born Salvatore Giancana in 1908 in Chicago's Little Italy, his family came from Sicily. But Giancana represented something new: the American-born mobster who never saw the old country. Our DNA audit reveals pure Sicilian blood, but Giancana's genetics tell a different immigrant story. His parents arrived in the 1890s, part of the mass Sicilian migration. But Sam was born in America. No accent, no old-world ties, no reverence for tradition. This made him dangerous. First-generation bosses like Gambino remembered Sicilian poverty and stayed cautious. Giancana's DNA carried the immigrant drive, but his American upbringing made him reckless. He partied with celebrities. He dated movie stars. He got involved in CIA plots to kill Castro, and that recklessness got him killed in 1975, shot 7 times in his own basement, right before he could reveal Mafia secrets to the government. His Sicilian blood remembered silence, but his American ego forgot the price. John Gotti, the Dapper Don, the last great celebrity gangster who loved the cameras as much as the rackets, the boss who proved that in the modern era, fame kills faster than bullets. Born in the Bronx in 1940, Gotti came from Neapolitan roots. His parents immigrated from the Naples/Campania region, not Sicily. Our DNA audit reveals this crucial detail. John Gotti was not Sicilian. He was Neapolitan, Southern Italian, but culturally distinct. His father was a day laborer. His family lived in poverty in the Bronx projects. And here's why genetics mattered. Sicilian bosses like Gambino valued invisibility. But Neapolitan culture was louder, flashier, more theatrical. Gotti's DNA carried that difference. He wore $2,000 suits. He held court at the Ravenite Social Club while FBI cameras rolled. The old Sicilian bosses would have killed him for the attention. And in a way, they did. Gotti's underboss, Sammy, the Bull, Gravano, turned informant. Gotti died in prison in 2002. His Neapolitan blood loved the spotlight. But the Mafia only survives in shadows. And now, the case that changes everything. Al Capone. Scarface. Public enemy number 1. The most famous gangster in American history. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born in Brooklyn in 1899, the son of Italian immigrants from the Naples/Salerno region. But here's what our DNA audit reveals that destroys the Capone myth. His family weren't thugs. His father, Gabriele was a barber. His mother, Teresina, was a seamstress. These were skilled tradespeople, respectable, middle-class artisans. Al Capone's genetics didn't predispose him to violence. His bloodline carried craftsmanship, precision, small business ownership. He grew up in a stable home with educated parents who valued work. So what happened? America happened. Prohibition happened. Capone saw that his father's barbershop would never make him rich, but bootlegging could make him a king. And here's the final, tragic DNA twist. Capone contracted syphilis as a young man, and by 1947, the disease had destroyed his brain. He died at age 48 with the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. The most feared gangster in America, the man whose name still means organized crime, died drooling and confused, his DNA ravaged by disease. His barber father's genes carried skill and intelligence, but Capone's choices destroyed what his bloodline gave him. 7 bosses. 7 different bloodlines. Sicilian shepherds and Jewish scholars. Calabrian negotiators and Neapolitan showmen. Sulfur miners and barbers. The Mafia wasn't just organized crime. It was organized immigration. Desperate men carrying desperate DNA, trying to escape the poverty written in their genes. Some died in bed. Most died in bullets. All of them carried blood that remembered hunger. And that hunger, genetic, generational, unstoppable, built an empire that America both feared and secretly admired. If these DNA revelations fascinated you, subscribe to Famous Roots for more genetic investigations into history's most legendary criminals, leaders, and icons. Thanks for watching. And remember, your bloodline doesn't determine your choices, but it remembers every single one.